Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the KK Zone. As always, I am Kara Kaufman, your host, and tonight the Yankees start a new series against the Minnesota Twins, and I was lucky enough to chat with lifelong Twins fan Pip, who is completely delightful. I think you'll really enjoy this interview. I learned a ton about the Twins and how much fun they can be to watch, so I'm greatly looking forward to this series getting underway this evening. And for those of you who noticed, I have not yet done a recap of the Red Sox series. It is not just because it was highly depressing to watch, but also because I had a dear friend's wedding this weekend, so I was distracted with much more delightful things than watching the Yankees get swept. But I have not forgotten. I will talk about that in an upcoming day. But for today, we've got this great chat with Pip to enjoy. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this series gets off to a great start for the Yanks. Pip, hello. Thank you so
Hi,
much for joining me tonight.
I'm happy to be here. Is in a very sweltering Brooklyn apartment.
Yes, yes, it
Oh,
is warm.
yeah. I was thinking about putting up a picture of Target Field behind me. Actually, I really wanted to put up a picture of the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome behind me because that is my true home for Twins baseball. Um, and it's too hot in my apartment and I forgot.
Honestly, totally fine. We're just gonna talk about it and draw like a word picture of it when we get there later.
Absolutely. Picture me in section 238 with two hot dogs and a battery to throw at Chuck Knobloch.
Ouch. You're about to get ejected from the game.
Yes. I mean, I was not one of those people at that infamous game, but I blame those fans for a lot of the current challenges that the Twins have had over the last, generation.
Karma's real.
Karma's real. Yeah.
But so you obviously are a longtime Twins fan. So tell me first off, and how did you become one?
I've been a Twins fan for almost as long as I can remember, but the first Twins game that I remember attending was in 1987. Because as it turns out, if you want people to buy tickets to see your baseball team play, it's really helpful if you have a good baseball team who's playing high quality baseball.
Yeah.
So I think I went to my first Twins game in 1987. What I remember is my dad taking me out of school, going to visit my mom, who was in the hospital at the time, and then we went to a matinee at the Metrodome, a day game. In sports, it's called a day game. In
Yeah.
theater, it's called a matinee. I'm gonna check every stereotype box that I possibly can for theater people.
You know what, Pep? I think matinee works for both. I have heard sportscasters use that term as well. So we're gonna go with a matinee.
Good. It was a matinee. It was against the Boston Red Sox.
Ah,
It was the Sox led 1-0 throughout the game, and in the bottom of the ninth inning, walked a run in to send the game to extra innings, and
wow.
then Kirby Puckett hit a walk-off home run to win the game, and I became a lifelong Twins fan. I followed the Twins for the rest of that year. They're obviously very, successful World Series race. The next Twins game that I remember, because this is childhood and it's 1,000 years ago, I next remember the Twins in 1991 when they won the World Series again. And you've got like amazing performances like Jack Morris in Game 7 and like Kevin Tapani, who I think I saw pitch a complete game shutout at some point that season. And I didn't know who he was, but I was, 12. And I was like, Kevin Tapani is the best pitcher ever. And he's got like a snazzy name. So like that's what I remember is I have these specific like memories of uh these exciting, successful Twins experiences from my youth. And then everybody, and I mean everybody, forgot about the Twins for like 10 years because the Twins were the worst team in baseball in 1990. And then they won the World Series in 1991. And then I think they were the worst team in baseball again in 1992. If not, then they were at least close to it. Um, and through on like and so forth through the rest of the 90s. And then in the year 2000, like 2000, they made a run at the Indians for a reasonably successful season. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were a good baseball team, and people started paying attention. And in 2001, it happened again. And my memory gets a little shady here, whether it was 2000 or 2001 or 2002 that we won a playoff series. We not only made it to the playoffs, but we won a playoff series. Um, and that there were suddenly good baseball players to be excited about, and they started um, a radio ad campaign and a TV ad campaign called Get to Know 'Em that was telling you interesting things about these baseball players. And the three that I remember is Christian Guzman. He's so fast that when he runs, it makes that bionic sound from the $1 Million Man, no, 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 no. And that was the whole radio commercial. Come see Christian Guzman. Doug Benkiewicz, they did a Schoolhouse Rock style jingle to help you remember how to spell Doug Benkiewicz's name. Mentkiewiczz. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how you spell Menkiewicz. And the Corey Koski was Canadian, and that was all you needed to know about him. And so there were people to go see. There were interesting characters, and they publicized these interesting characters going to play on the team, and that helped me become a Twins fan. And the third thing that helped me become a Twins fan in the early 2000s is that the Metrodome had 81 game full season ticket packages for $200, because the Metrodome was built for football and it held 65,000 people, and you're gonna get 15,000 people for a normal Twins game, 20,000, 25,000 when they're really, really good. But they had this whole upper deck that like nobody was ever sitting in. So you could get upper deck general admission, 81 games for $200. And when I realized that as like a small nonprofit, like direct service educational theater teacher, a teaching artist in Minneapolis, I could be a season ticket holder for the Twins. I went to 50, 55 games some seasons. I gave those tickets out to my students. I was like, good job answering that question. You want to go to the Twins game tonight? Here you go. It was just like, it was access to baseball on a level that I had never conceived of. And that was the time when I knew all of these guys' names. And like everybody, and I felt that I had relationships with a lot of people involved in the team. What I actually had relationships with was like the beer guy and the concessions guy and the dude that ran the $5 ticket lot, which is now a much more expensive, like multi-level parking garage. But at the time, it was just a parking lot with a chain link fence around it. And I brought the guy a Snickers bar one time. And then half the time he didn't charge me for parking after that. Like this was a community of people all coming together to watch baseball that was very nearly literally free for everyone. And that's when I became a Twins fan, when I felt like I was a part of that community. By the way, I checked today and the cheapest season ticket prices at Target Field are $1,000.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's fantastic. Hearing all that's fantastic. That is, everything about that would make me into a huge Twins fan as well had I been in Minneapolis at that point. That's just the people and the personalities on the team and everybody you're going to the field with are so what makes it a great experience.
Yeah. And there's something Midwestern. There's something profoundly Midwestern about the way those teams played baseball. Here again, we're talking about the generation of my fandom, the Tom Kelly generation of Twins players put an emphasis on the fundamentals, playing the game right, doing the little things right. The Twins were never going to hit 100,000 home runs in a season, but they were going to turn every double play. You weren't going to see a lot of errors. You were going to see a lot of like people trying hard, playing good baseball. And to me, as a Midwesterner who just wants people to try hard and do their best, gosh darn it, it felt like that was baseball that I was proud to call Minnesota baseball.
That's funny because that's kind of what you just described is kind of how I think of the kind of 2010-ish Cleveland team. So maybe it really is a Midwestern thing.
It's when people are seen to be just like, I wish I had the words to describe this. It's just like that go get it. It's running out ground balls. It's just like trying to do the little things right. It's it feels a little Sandlotty. Like you're playing for the love of the game, and so you're going to do every single thing right. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to have that your team has. It's nice to feel that your team has that.
I love that. And I mean, it's funny. I think as a fan, especially if you're a fan of a big market team that's expected to win a lot, it's hard to see that in it sometimes. And also, so many teams have rivalries, and there are some teams who develop kind of random antipathy for. I always found the Twins to be very sweet. Just like I think I have some residual guilt for just how often the Yankees have just knocked the Twins out. So I feel very bad for the Twins, but also they're just like, they seem nice, like you say.
Yeah. I mean, I maintain that AJ Przinsky was a nice Midwestern boy until the White Sox got a hold of him, and I don't know what they did to him, but he became a real jerk after that. But he was always very nice when he played for the Twins. Um, there was a story. Someone accused the Twins of using performance enhancing drugs, and I think it was Corey Koski said anyone who's ever seen Doug Minkiewicz without a shirt on knows that's just not true. Right?
That
They're sweet little hometown boys.
I love everything about that. So those are obviously the teams that sparked your fandom.
That's
But
exactly
I
right.
know from knowing you later on in life, you are still a Twins fan, and obviously, I think it's probably hard to be quite as connected when you're different time zone, pretty far away, not with the
Yeah.
same community.
MLB.TV has been a real game saver. I mean a real lifesaver. I've been able to watch a reasonable amount of Twins games. I've been able to watch the Twins lose many playoff games. Like no matter where I am, I've been able to watch the Twins lose in the playoffs, which is really nice. And now what you're going to hear is like this little bit of like fatalistic Twins fan. This is the other side of the it's a beautiful, it's a baseball sky and the sun is shining. On the other hand, there's this undercurrent of, yeah, well, we're going to come out here and see the Twins lose again in the playoffs, which is fine because like as we started to touch on earlier, when Kara, when would you like to talk about the Twins and the Yankees? When would you like to address this again? This like generational conflict.
Go ahead and do it now. That's not really part of my itinerary because I want to focus on the Twins mostly. But this is relevant points. I think let's talk about it right now.
Okay, all right. So from my perspective, like the legend that I grew up with, and by grew up with, I mean like has developed in my and some other Twins fans' heads in the last 5-ish years, is of course 1991 Rookie of the Year Chuck Knobloch. Left the Twins, left a lot of family and cultural connections in the Twin Cities, and went to the Yankees, and forgot how to throw to first base. And that when Knobloch came back with the Yankees to the Metrodome to play the Twins, it was fine because he was playing second base. Mm-hmm. Later, he was traded to the Royals. He no longer played second base. He was in the outfield, and the fans are right next to the outfield. And so I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this story in which Chuck Knobloch is playing, I believe, left field, and it was Dollar Dog night, and a lot of college students, a lot of very drunk, rowdy college students, got many hot dogs, balled up the foil wrappers, and threw them at Chuck Knobloch in left field, or in maybe it was right field. Threw them at Chuck Knobloch, and then started throwing quarters at Chuck Knobloch, and then started throwing batteries at Knobloch, and it got to be so bad that infamously reticent and like silent Tom Kelly had to get on the Metrodome PA system and say, if you don't stop doing this, we will forfeit this game. This is an important baseball game. The Twins were in a playoff hunt at the time. And if you don't stop doing this, we will forfeit this game. I think Joe Torre had pulled his team off the field by this point. He was like, it's not safe for us to be out there. And ever since then, the Twins have not won a playoff series.
So you think cursed themselves?
I think the bad behavior of these Twins fans, because if there's one thing that Minnesotans value, it's politeness. And like, if you have a bone to pick with someone, if you have beef with someone, you are going to handle it passive aggressively. You are going to roll your eyes at them. You're going to wait just a little longer than normal before you answer their questions, but you are not going to attack them in a public forum such that an authority figure like Tom Kelly has to come out and ask you to stop. This is not how Minnesotans do things.
Interesting. So Twins fans broke the Midwestern Code of Conduct, and as a result, whenever they play the Yankees, they are destined to go up in flames.
This is the theory. Because of the energy transferred from the 1991 Twins to the Yankees via Chuck Knobloch, that rudeness to Chuck Knobloch is in some way responsible for this is our version. This is our curse. Is for whatever reason, there is power there, and it's specifically centered around the Yankees.
I don't have a better explanation than that, so I think I'm going to go with that one because I like it a lot. And honestly, it tracks. Weirder things have caused baseball curses.
Yes, yes.
That one seems at least very like cause and effect related.
Yeah. So let's see. So there was in the generate there was the I mean my favorite one. There's the game that I remember from college. There was like a 16 or 18 inning game where the Twins were leading in the bottom of the ninth inning. Eddie Guardado gave up, I assume, 3 runs because like why not? Um, Yankees tie the game. Inning. Probably Torrey Hunter hit a 3-run home run. Twins are going into the bottom of some inning, leading by 3. A guy who was a recent signee for the Yankees at the time, his name was something Giambi, had not been hitting, was booed when he came out to pinch hit in the bottom of that inning with the bases loaded. And Mike Trombley threw him something fat to swing at, and that was the beginning of the monster Giambi that played out the however much more of his career with the Yankees. And so, yeah. Oh, if you ask any Minnesotan, they can rattle off so many. By the way, Mike Trombley had just come up from the minors to pitch in that game and was sent back down the next day.
Oh, that's so sad. That's not even his fault.
No, it was Chuck Knobloch's fault. No, it was the college students sitting in the outfield. It was their fault.
Yeah.
So then the Twins have, in the rest of history, the Twins have like 2 playoff wins against the Yankees, both in game 1, and the Yankees would have come back in probably 2003 and 2004. Johan Santana wins game 1, Brad Radke loses game 2, and so on for at least twice. Let's
I will say, I'm not gonna belabor this. I will never forget, because as in my like peak, my hardcore fandom didn't really start until around 07, 08.
Yeah. Okay.
I was cognizant of the Yankees. I watched them, but I wasn't this level of having a YouTube channel intense.
Right.
But I will never forget that 2017 wildcard game, specifically because though that year was a magical year that may never happen again for the Yankees, where they weren't actually supposed to be good, which never happens, and they were both good and fun, which was great. And I will never forget though, watching that game, I was sitting on my living room floor because I was so nervous. I was very sure the Yankees were going to lose. And then immediately, of course, Luis Severino has the worst inning of his entire career. And I'm sorry, not inning, like 2/3 of an inning of his entire career.
Yeah.
Down nothing.
Is it? Yeah.
And I remember my friend was watching with me, and he got there late, and he walked in like between the top and the bottom of the first inning, and I was like, well, this game is over, our season is over, you missed it, but okay. And then I'll never forget Didi Gregorius hitting that game-tying home run right away, and I was like, oh, this team is magic, and also the Twins are cursed.
I was at that game. I really, yeah, no, we were sitting in the back of not the bleachers, but we were sitting in the back of some section. We got tickets on StubHub. And I was like, that first half inning, I was like, I don't know, guys, this isn't what I came here to see either. The Twins have never won a playoff game that I've attended. I think I've gone to see three or four Twins playoff games, and they have never won a game that I've attended. But I was like, the Twins are in the playoffs at Yankee Stadium. Like, I can't not go because of my own personal imaginary Twins curse, which I know doesn't exist, but also I did think twice about going to the game. But then I went, and all the people around me were turning around to look at me because we'd been chatting, and I was like, I don't expect the Twins to do much here, but like, I'm gonna come see a game in Yankee Stadium. And then we were up 3-0 in like before the end of the first inning. And I was like, I'm as surprised as you guys. And then the universe turned right side up again, and like the game ended the way it was always going to. And so, if that's, by the way, when we get to the matchup section of this conversation, you're like, I know how all of these matchups, whichever matchups we choose, I know how they're going to end. And so that's going to be fine. That's going to be fine.
Okay, well, sneak peek of the end of the show.
That's right.
Everyone's hitting homers. I'm sorry you were at that game, although I really wish I'd been at that game. But
It was a super fun game.
It was a really exciting game. Even if it didn't end your way. It was, I mean, I've only been to 2 playoff games, and the first one was literally my first ever playoff game, was the worst playoff loss the Yankees have ever had. It was the Red Sox, and we got absolutely crushed.
Mm.
But then the second one was 2019, and I went to that game against the Twins, and James Paxton was great. And that was a really close game for 5 innings, and then it wasn't. That was kind of, for me personally, it was the perfect game because you got that tension,
Mm-hmm.
but then it became evident the Yankees were going to win. And I could relax.
Mm-hmm.
I was like quivering. It's like, yeah.
It's so good, and baseball is so good for its ability to do not just do that to you, but have it last minutes. Like nothing in, I love that nothing in baseball, individual plays in baseball, things change in a moment, but then that new state, you just sit in it.
Yeah.
And like, it's a great exercise for like coming to terms with your feelings and like learning to be like, okay, we now live in a world where, okay, now it's changed, but that, okay, all right, we're going to try to like wrap our heads around this new universe now. But you have time to think through everything that happens. Not the players. The players are like running around like insane things are happening. But as fans, we get to sit in all of these moments.
And to be there thinking, okay, I'm imagining 15 different ways this will be terrible for me. It really is an exercise in just being able to keep yourself centered despite the impending sense of doom.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential. There's a constant sense of the potential for what might happen next.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. This is baseball as philosophy and baseball as, I don't know, life coach, inanimate life coach. It's great. I love everything about it.
I like it.
But let's talk about these current Twins a little bit. So first off, I want to say, I know last year was obviously a horrific year for everybody, and baseball was weird and crazy. And my general feeling is that you can't really take away that much, but I like looking back at least briefly to see what it was like last year. And for the Twins, it was pretty good. They won the division. They went 36-24, which is really good over a 6-game span. They finished, it was a tight division race though in the end, and they pulled ahead of the White Sox the last week of the season for a dramatic finish. Finished 1 game up on both Cleveland and Chicago, who were tied, but like it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
All that was good for the number 3 seed in the playoffs, and then they immediately got swept by Houston, which I know how that feels, so I'm very sorry. Boo Astros and all that.
Yes.
What did you see last year that stuck with you, if anything, that you think is a takeaway?
I think the biggest things are, I think you're exactly right. It was a short season, and the Twins just had a lot of things go right as the way that they sometimes do. Like there were, I mean, the big one is Kenta Maeda was like on, and like when you've got really high quality starting pitching like that, there's a lot that you can go a long way. I mean, if you think of a short season as a long playoff series,
Right.
like it's really good starting pitching and really good relief pitching that like makes a playoff team work. And I think that it's that writ, slightly longer over a longer season. I know that the Twins were the best team in the major leagues at hitting fastballs in 2019. And they were also above average in 2020. They weren't quite as strong as they were in 2019. But it was another, like, it wasn't the Bomba squad of yore, where it almost seemed like something had been done to the baseballs in all but that one playoff game.
Almost.
It almost seemed like something had been changed to make balls mysteriously fly out of all the parks for a certain period of time. But ultimately, the other thing that I have both remember observing and discovered in my research earlier today is that the Twins were not spectacular against relief pitching at all. They would jump out against starting pitchers and then they would be held. And in fact, that was exactly what we saw in the playoffs last year, was like leads against starting pitchers and then a collapsing Twins bullpen and them not being able to push any further against opposing relief pitchers. I mean, I think those were the big things.
That's interesting. I think that latter is kind of a trend because I mean the long as tales old as time in baseball is knock the reliever out so you can get to the bullpen. But
Hmm. Hmm.
nowadays the teams that have elite bullpens have five guys that throw 100, two
Yep.
guys with a wipeout slider, the guy with the curve that freezes you, and then the guy with the splitter if you just can't touch. And then there's a
Yeah.
changeup guy. So like it's there's no relief there
Yeah.
unless you run across a team that does have a weaker bullpen, in which case you breathe a sigh of relief and I guess beat them in 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah. The starting pitcher is the only place where you're going to get an opportunity to see a guy more than once and like have a chance to figure out what it is that he's doing.
That's a really good. That's a good note. I didn't watch the Twins I think at all last year, so because the Yankees didn't play them at all last year, and
Yeah.
didn't play in the playoffs, so I wouldn't have noticed that, but that actually makes some sense. Good observation.
So it's some of that is internet research because there are a lot of smart people that love baseball, which is another thing that we can like about baseball is that a lot of smart people write really smart things about baseball. And we can just enjoy watching the games and notice those things. Be like, yeah, the person that wrote that I don't remember who it was is 100% right.
Yep.
But I can't take credit for that particular piece of brilliance because I'm just not as attentive a baseball watcher enough to catch quite that. I mean, you've heard me talk about baseball. I'm a narrative and philosophy baseball guy. It's a lot harder for me to dig into statistics. I like statistics.
That's a lot where I come down to. I think as theater people, the narrative is one of the most exciting things. That's what I always say is one of the best things about baseball is just the plentitude of possible narratives at any given moment. It's kind of what we're talking about before. Any one pitch can go in 15 different directions, both physically, obviously, and also narratively. So it's neat. And I think what I always think about when I look at the Twins, I think consistently a solid contender and kind of underrated a lot of the time. I mean, we forget they won the division in 2019 and 2020, and then they also were a wild card in 2017, as we discussed. They had some rough years before that, and kind of like 2018 wasn't great. But they have the ability, and I therefore this year, I mean, I think everyone's high on the White Sox, and I think that makes sense. They're very good. Obviously, now we can see how good they are. But I think even before the season, it was clear they were coming on quick. But really, the Twins, as the defending division champs, looked like to be pretty well set up. And then I looked at what they did in the offseason, and I didn't remember them making a lot of moves, and I was very mistaken. I think of all of these I've done so far, I used the most space writing down every move the Twins made this offseason, but they weren't flashy moves. They were just a lot of moves.
I remember this being a Polad thing because the Twins are a small market team, and even a small market team's budget is now pretty comfortable at 100 to 150 million dollars. That did not used to be the case. Like the Twins teams I grew up with were in the 30 to 40 $40 million range for budgets, but there's been a long-standing Twins thing where they are perfectly happy to let a guy go like right when he's becoming amazing because there's somebody else who's much cheaper who can provide roughly the same amount of like whatever that person was providing, which I think is where you see these kinds of like low level moves, like somebody who was really popular, Eddie Rosario was like an outfielder last season with like a lot of like he had some power. He was really, really popular with fans, and they let him walk because there are cheaper outfielders out there. Like a lot of people can swing the bat, a lot of people can cover the ground in the outfielder.
Yeah.
In the outfield.
I was thinking about Trevor May, who was a big deal in the bull. You said their bullpen was kind of inconsistent last year. Well, they sure did lose a lot of bullpen guys. So I can't tell if that was the example of them trying to scrimp some pennies, or they just thought it wasn't working. Let's blow it up. Also, relievers are notoriously wide variance from year to year. But I was surprised to let Trevor May walk. I was a little surprised they let Rich Hill walk. I mean, he's also like 100 years old, so I get thinking maybe he wouldn't be good. Counterpoint, he's been great with Tampa. Damn it. Why'd you let them have him? Yeah. And then, I mean, looking also at Jake Odorizzi, I was really surprised to let him walk. Sergio Romo also gone. And well, Marvin Gonzalez, but I mean, I get that one a little more. You can probably find equal value in a utility guy like that for less money. And then Tyler Clippard, who, let's face it, can be really bad sometimes, having watched him up close and personal. So I get that one too. But then on the flip side, they had to add back some pitching, and they got Alex Colomé, which struck me as a good move. They also got Matt Shoemaker, who has not been good, but who is a starter, a thing they needed.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest move they made was re-signing Nelson Cruz, which took longer than it should have. I think I was watching that thinking, is he gonna sign? When's it gonna happen?
Because what's happening? Yeah.
He is an ageless wonder, and the Twins, he's been the center of the Twins offense for as long as I can remember the past couple of years. So that was huge.
And he's been at the center of a lot of like significant humanitarian efforts as well. He's such a community oriented guy, which is very much at least the way I like to think of the Twins, very much a Twins thing.
I love that. So yeah, those are the ones that stood out to me. There were more, but those seem like the same ones. But is there anything else or any of those that particularly stuck out to you, or anything else I forgot?
Just that I also know that the Twins have always really prized and valued their farm system. And so there are a lot of situations where I was listening to your I think it was your Detroit conversation talking about Wilson Ramos, who was a very highly sought and prized Twins prospect until he was the guy behind Joe Mauer. And then I think the Twins traded him for Matt Capps as a one season closer, which was a huge waste of everybody's time, except Ramos, who got to go out and play for a bunch of good major league teams and has I think blazed a pretty impressive trail for himself.
Yeah.
But I know there are a handful of guys from the farm system that have come up this season and are now, due to myriad injuries, seeing a lot more playtime than they had maybe intended to see. But that's also a common Twins thing, is let go the players who everybody thinks are invaluable because the Twins are convinced that they've got the next guy coming up the pipe.
I mean, it's great. That's the way that teams are trying to keep their expenses down, because goodness knows they haven't got any money to spend. If you can develop a talent yourself, obviously all the better. Plus, I mean, in a slightly more sentimental vein, it's nice to have homegrown guys. They grew up knowing the Twins way, and fans watching from an early age. That's cool.
Yeah.
And kind of rare, but also the flip side of that is you bring those guys up, and then once they become stars, they go away.
Yeah. I mean, not all of them do.
Right.
You've got your lifers. Yeah, but and hopefully when they go away, you can get something really impressive back in return. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Sometime, not Matt Capps.
Not Matt Capps. Better than Matt Capps.
Yeah.
So you also just brought up the injury situation, which also, as someone who has not watched yet a moment of Twins baseball this year, I did not realize how extensive their injury list is. I'm gonna
devastating.
Say almost looks like 2019 Yankees level. It is a lot, and there are some guys on this that are not that, not huge names, but
yeah.
I mean, number one, top and foremost is Byron Buxton, who was finally having that breakout MVP year. Everyone wanted for him. He was doing it on every single side of the ball. He looked amazing, and out with a hip strain, which looks not great, but hopefully is not fully debilitating.
Yeah.
And then Max Kepler, is also out. So your whole outfield is gonzo.
Yeah. Buxton, I think, is supposed to start a
rehab.
That's the thing. Yes. In St. Paul, because the Twins AAA affiliate is the St. Paul Saints. So they are in town.
Cute.
Isn't that adorable? It's such a Minnesota Twins thing. Of course.
Really, that's also awesome. And also
when you get sent down to the farm, you get sent across the Mississippi River to the state capitol, to the team, the adorable team owned by Bill Murray that does all oh, did you not know that? This is there. If we're going to talk about the Twins farm system, all we really need to talk about is the St. Paul Saints and how all the weird fun gimmicky things that they do, because they're just a cool, fun minor league team that because they're a minor league team, they don't have big names necessarily to get people to the park. They're really good at coming up with just fun games and prizes and gimmicks. They're a really, really great time. to go and see I highly recommend a St. Paul Saints game. When you come to Minneapolis to go to a Twins game, I highly also recommend a St. Paul Saints game.
I'll do both, double feature.
Super, super fun. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. And I'm glad that Buxton's on the mend, because that guy is dynamic and so exciting, and he is always getting hurt. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm glad.
We're hopeful.
Getting
hope springs eternal. Minnesota Twins. TM.
And then also Kenta Maeda is hurt, bad, because he's been great. Mitch Garver is hurt. I didn't quite buy his break as much as everyone else did, but still, obviously, your starting catcher is a big loss.
He didn't deserve this.
And then Luis Arraez also, who is a name I have an eye on from, I think, a year or two back when he had kind of
yeah.
And then a couple of bullpen pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
So that is rough.
It's been bad.
Yeah, what is going on? You can't answer that. That's not a question.
I can't answer that.
Question for the baseball god. Also,
yeah.
Not just the Twins. Injuries are up across baseball. I think we know what's going on. It's because last year was weird.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like we all spent a lot less time out getting exercise last year than we maybe should have and maybe hoped to. But I do know the same way last year's Twins seemed to be struck with like a run of some really solid luck. You only need to look at the Twins in extra inning games this year to know just how unlucky the Twins have been. Because when in that situation, when it comes down to just one swing of the bat with a runner automatically on second, like it's been devastating. I think the Twins are 0-7 in extra inning games.
Oh no!
It's bad, including opening day. Like it was all that fresh excitement that you come into a new baseball season with. You're like, here we go. Everybody think the Twins are going to be real contenders this year. Let's go out there and do something. Nope.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. Opening day losses suck. We also lost opening day this year.
Well, sure.
No good. But I was looking at, because I think we'll get to this, but I think my question I wrote down for the Twins is, what the heck happened to the Twins? But I was looking up, so where they are right now at this present moment as we speak is they are 24-35, which is not what they want. That also, I'm sorry I have to say this out loud, but it ties them with Detroit for 5th place in the American League Central, 12 games behind the White Sox, who are currently leading the division. But I was looking back at how the season started for them, and yeah, they went 9-15 in the month of April, and it really didn't get better after that. They've only won 4 in a row once. They only won 3 in a row once, which is like not gonna get you where you want to be record wise.
Right.
I don't know why that happened, but it seems like from jump this year, it was just not happening.
Yeah, like basically all the things that went well last year are not going well this year. Specifically in terms of starting pitching, I think we have 2 pitchers with an ERA under 5. It's like you said, Shoemaker has not been terribly helpful. We've got 2 solid starting pitchers in Barrios and Pineda, and everybody else. And I think Maeda just not having the year that he had last year, was challenging for a lot of people. Yeah, and that extends to the bullpen as well. Like nothing seems to have. We've swapped out our bullpen or most of our bullpen for new guys, and that's not really working. That's not really working either. So we're falling behind sometimes, and sometimes we're falling behind early, and sometimes we're falling behind late.
Yeah, that's how it goes when your team is losing. You're either losing early or you're losing late, but you're not losing.
Yeah, and we just came through the easiest part of our schedule that we're likely to see for the foreseeable future, and didn't do what needed to be done against the.
It makes you feel we got swept by the Tigers last week, so the Yankees are having a lot of struggles. So while on the schedule they probably look a little bit intimidating, wouldn't worry too much. Wouldn't be surprised if you swept this weekend, because it's really not going well. Except you have to take Garrett Cole, which maybe is bad for you. We're talking about the rosters. Let's run down the roster real quick. I will. I know some of these names are not the names we expected because of all the injuries, but I'm gonna go down real fast, and then you can tell me what or who sticks out to you? Do you want to take a couple words about?
For
So
sure.
catching minus Mitch Garver, we have Ryan Jeffers and someone named Ben Rort Rortvet Rortret Rortret
Rortvet.
Rortret.
Okay.
Shrug. And then
Yeah.
Miguel Sano, stalwart at first base. Jorge Polanco, second baseman. Josh Donaldson, who I kind of forgot about because he missed so much time, is back, which is great. We love Josh. I forgot they signed Andrelton Simmons to play the infield. Play shortstop. So your infield is kind of what you would expect the infield to be.
Yeah.
And then we get to the outfield, and we have people named Trevor Larnach, Kyle Garlick, and Alex Kirilloff.
Okay. So here's what I can say is I don't know anything about Kyle Garlick, but I'm so excited that his name is Kyle Garlick. It's the worst imaginable name, like reason to hang your hat on a ball player. But I just wish him all the best. His name is Kyle Garlick, and I'm 100% here for it. I do know Alex Kirilloff and Trevor Larnach.
Okay.
I haven't heard these people's names said out loud. I've only seen them in the like their names in the prospectus. Like they're very well regarded prospects.
Yep.
And we're very, very hopeful from what I can tell. And now we might as well see, like, let's see what they can do.
It's a great time for the kids to see what they can do because
that's exactly right. That's exactly right, because it's either going to work or it's not. Yeah. And like probably we're going to find ourselves in roughly the same situation either way.
That's a great philosophy.
Yeah.
Cool. And then of course we were talking about Nelson Cruz, the DH is great. Nick Gordon is someone I never heard of, who is a backup infielder. And then of course Williams Astudillo, who we can't forget, who is one of the most fun characters in all of baseball.
You're here.
I remember he was a backup catcher. I did not remember that he was also a backup first baseman and third baseman, which is.
I think that he also can play outfield. He has played outfield. And of course, we know that he is known to pitch on occasion.
Oh, we will get there. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Has he been known to pitch on occasion? Yeah. So that's that. And then those are your position players. And then we talked about a bit the rotation. Maeda is out right now with injury, hopefully not long term. And then Jose Barrios, Michael Pineda, Matt Shoemaker, and then J Happ. Got a lot of former Yankees on this team. And then somehow Randy Dobnak and Bailey Ober are also the starters. I'm guessing it's kind of a piggyback situation because I don't think either of them is really a full-fledged starter.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Taylor. Oh, we didn't talk about Taylor Rogers is now your closer. We also got Alex Colomé and Tyler Duffy and Hansel Robles in the bullpen. And then people I don't know named Jorge Alcala, Luke Farrell, and this is the best name in the whole team, Griffin Jax, spelled J-A-X.
Yes.
That guy has got an 80 grade baseball name, and I am here for it.
Huzzah. I appreciate them allowing him to step off his normal role as a Mortal Kombat character to take his rightful place on the baseball field. That's going to be great.
It's going to be really fun. I hope he's got like some really badass video game walk-up music because or I guess warm-up music for a pitcher. Because
Twins walk-up music and warm-up music is usually pretty solid. Like in my experience, it's been a long time since I went to a game at Target Field, but their music game was always pretty on point.
As a very unrelated side note, I was at a game this past weekend, and one of our pitchers was warming up, Lucas Litke, who's his first time with us in the majors, and he was warming up, and I'm like bopping along to the song, and all of a sudden I realized this is Larger Than Life. Which is it NSYNC? Is it Backstreet Boys? It is a boy band. I'm like, this is my high school experience. And then also I was like, wait, is this a song that Lucas Licky chose to warm up to? Because if so, I love him even more. That is a baller choice. Like he's like, yeah, this is a jam. This is a jam.
Fantastic. I love it. There have been, I've also noticed an uptick in in baseball players entering to pro wrestling music, which is fantastic because wrestling music is designed to psych you up to see some people go to combat, and it's perfect for those purposes. So
I'm surprised that one of my last trips before the pandemic was to Mexico City, and we went to see the luchas, the wrestling.
Yeah.
And now that you just said that, I'm kind of surprised that relief pitchers don't enter in some extravagant getup, because I remember these wrestlers entered in dramatic lighting with crazy music and like a headdress for days, with a sparkly robe, and most of that came off where the actors started to do their thing because
Sure.
that's hard to move around in. But I'm realizing now that relief pitchers have a perfect opportunity to show up in a costume, which they can then
Totally.
shed. But I think that might be frowned upon. That's probably against the unwritten rules. Maybe it's against the written rules, for goodness sakes. Because
But that's right. What you would, if their vision is obscured by the mask, they might accidentally step over a base or a part of the field that they're not supposed to step over at that time.
I guess it's
I,
dangerous, but it would be so cool.
it would be so cool, and I think the music is the next best thing that we can get. So if you ever hear somebody just chanting "Glorious" as somebody uses "Glorious" as entrance music, and I don't remember who it was, but I was at the ballpark and I heard it, and I was like, this is fantastic. Glorious Domination. Google it. It's flat out the best pro wrestling entrance music ever made.
I will have to look that up because I've watched approximately 0 wrestling on television, but I will now look that up because that sounds like a great entrance song, and I want to know
It's totally worth it.
I think I should use it when I play kickball.
Yes, please do that.
So okay, so that's your that's your roster. I didn't do a lot of stat digging here, but I did look up. So you do have 3 guys in full-time guys in your lineup that are OPSing over 800. Well, one of them is Byron Buxton, who is out, but when he left, OPS was 1.13, which is insanely high. Then there's Nelson Cruz and Josh Donaldson. Now we were talking about Larnock, who actually has gotten off to a pretty hot start OPS wise, but he also has only played in 25 games. So it's unclear how much of that is real or not real. And then also looking at your pitchers, as you mentioned, Pineda and Barrios are the other starters that have decent ERAs. But on the relief side of things, that guy who I'd never heard of, Luke Farrell, is sitting on a 0.9 ERA right now. ERA is imperfect, but whatever.
Sure.
I looked up really fast. Your closer, Rogers, doing pretty well too. But the third lowest ERA on your team, if you take away the innings limit, belongs to Williams Astudillo, who has a 3.0 ERA in 3 innings pitched in 3 separate appearances.
3 games. Yeah.
So Williams is one of your better pitchers. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. The Tortuga can pitch, man. He just does. He steps up and does whatever the team needs, and I deeply respect that. He's so fun to watch.
So who do you have thoughts on that you want to share? Because I don't know these guys very well. Is there anybody that you love the most, or anybody I probably don't know that you're very attached to that I should know?
I mean, it was not clear to me. It was not clear to me that Astudillo is as beloved outside the Twins. So he was my pick for it. The twin that you probably don't know who you should fall in love with, because he's just such a there were two things. I did some digging into why he's so beloved amongst Twins fans. And there was the one knee home run, which I want to say it was last year or 2 years ago. There's a great video. I mean, all of these things are, you can pull up any moment from baseball at any time because the internet is amazing. But it's a big swing. The swing is so big, he goes down on one knee and watches it go, and it's beautiful. It's sweet. There is a phenomenal first base to home run where hair like blowing in the wind, helmet comes off, and he is not a small man, and he is just chugging along. And he said that he wanted to show people that chubby people can run, and this was something that was important to him in this moment. And he's just like, he seems to know exactly who he is. He seems to know exactly what he can do, which is apparently anything.
Right.
Because as you say, he's stepped in at first base, he's stepped in at third base. I'm positive that he's played the outfield on occasion. He came up as a catcher, and if you need him to go in and like throw some 45-mile-an-hour pitches, which elicit, like, by and large, like, not hits. That, like,
Mercedes, do not throw your Mercedes.
Yes. But if you are playing on a generally pretty solid fielding team, as the Twins generally are, like, you can go out there and pitch to contact and elicit some hits and like roll the dice. And he's been really fun to watch. I'm always excited when I see him in the lineup. And then, like, the people whose names are the people to the people that we know to watch for, and the people whose names you don't know, Kirilloff, Larnock, and Kyle, and I'm here for Kyle Garlick. I want it to happen. Are these people that are getting chances that they otherwise wouldn't get in at this point in the season? And I'm really excited. I'm always, it's a little bit of that Kevin Tapani thing where like nobody knew who he was. He came out and I was an 11 or 12-year-old kid who saw him pick up a complete game shutout, maybe even a no-hitter. I was in middle school. It seemed very important at the time. I had a bookmark with his name on it, and like you make not just a kid who is a fan of yours, but a kid who's a fan of baseball, because one of these guys went out there and did something special on a given day. And I don't have I just don't have more specific information than that, because at this point my connection to the team has been a long distance one. I've been in New York for almost 15 years now, and so I don't get to go to the ballpark. I don't get to see them play live. I only get to see them lose in Yankee Stadium in the playoffs. Or when it's fine.
Well,
I've so deeply come to terms with it.
we've got to go. When they come to New York later this year, we have to go.
I would love that.
Super. So the last thing I'll say about your roster that I noticed, I did a little bit of digging because again, I was trying to puzzle out what is wrong with the Twins, and I was looking up their team ranks in a couple categories, and I was surprised to find that their offense actually ranks pretty highly. Again, I didn't do deep digging here, but they are actually fourth in the league in home runs. So they are kind of bombing again.
They're still hitting the ball.
And they're eighth in baseball. I shouldn't say the league, in all of baseball. They're eighth in all of baseball in OPS, which means they're getting men on base and they're slugging.
Yeah.
That seemed curious to me that they were hitting so well, because actually most of baseball isn't hitting very well.
Mm-hmm.
But as you kind of implied, the pitching has been a bit less good. Their team ERA is 26 out of 30. And breaking it down doesn't really help. The starters are 26, the relievers are 24th. So it kind of feels like maybe run prevention has been the biggest problem.
Yeah, I think that is exactly right. And this is the 2019 Twins scored so many runs that it didn't matter. Like they made up for, they glossed over a lot of pitching sins. And the 2020 Twins slightly less so, also with some surprisingly successful pitching performances thrown in there. And I think we're back in a situation where the Twins are hitting the ball, but not so much that they can make up for some rough pitching situations. I think you're exactly right.
Well, that is what the numbers say. So therefore, if the eyes say it and the numbers say it, then that's probably what's happening.
Trust the science.
Trust the science is
trust the baseball science.
Auto. Great. So I guess maybe this is kind of a weird time in the season to ask you this, but at this point, knowing what we know, what do you think is now kind of the best and worst case scenarios for this Twins 2021 team?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that we are in the worst case scenario. Yeah. Like if more people got hurt, if Josh Donaldson got hurt again, if like what more could possibly happen? And that sometimes happens. Like really amazing Cinderella baseball stories have been taken apart by the baseball gods, as you say. This happens. I'm also going to say that the 1991 Twins, who the previous season were the worst team in baseball and the subsequent season were the worst team in baseball, but in the 1991 season, they went on a 15-game winning streak late in the season that was enough to put them back on top of the division and hold them there through the end of the season. And so in terms of a best case scenario, there are a lot of things that are going wrong for the Twins. If some people get healthy, if some people return to their 2019-2020 form, if some people return to form, if some people get healthy, if some people stay healthy, there's every possibility that the Twins could win baseball games again.
Yeah. I mean,
they're like,
there's so much left.
I mean, I'm not saying that like it's not an easy road, and as I just said, like we just came through probably the easiest like section of our calendar that we're likely to see. We don't have the Orioles again, but the AL Central is not. It's been a long time since the AL Central was like the powerhouse of the American League. Like, and for years the Twins won division after division by getting fat off the failure of the Royals and the Tigers, and like, and then for a while it was Cleveland that was terrible, and we always beat Cleveland, and then I don't know. Well, like the White Sox have, generally speaking, always been in there. I do feel at this point we're far enough into this conversation that I can formally retract the mean things that I said about White Sox fandom. I apologize for saying that you would never find a White Sox fan to talk to because all White Sox fans are garbage. I retract that statement with deepest apologies. The White Sox fan you talked to seemed like a really cool guy. And so
Also, though, to be fair, White Sox fans are having themselves a very happy year right now. So I think
he's in a position to be generous.
yes. If you feel, I feel that way about Red Sox fans. Like, weirdly, I have a lot of Red Sox fan friends. So actually, I don't feel that way about them. But in theory, I'm like, they are terrible. Those Boston fans. No one likes Boston sports fans. Which
Right.
is true. But
no Minnesota Twins fan would throw quarters at an opposing player, but a bunch of drunk Minnesota Twins fans might do something garbagey like that.
Yeah, it turns out big groups of people are just terrible.
I mean, that's Men in Black. That's Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. One person is smart and reasonable. People are dumb, scared, and throw batteries at baseball players.
Yes. Well, I think you're right about that. And I also think you're right about the Twins, which is there's a lot of season left to go. And certainly it seems like they probably couldn't play worse than they're playing right now. So things are bound to look up. And especially if people get healthy, that's great. And hey, maybe Tony La Russa will bad karma the White Sox. You never know.
I mean, we're going to play the White Sox a whole bunch of times in the rest of the season. And the White Sox are going to be playing against other good baseball teams while we're playing against the Royals and Tigers.
Right.
And so like there's a lot of baseball yet to play. I'm not saying that the Twins are likely to come back and win the division or even make a play for any wild cards. Although you're welcome for the one game wild card playoff format because the Twins were responsible for that. Because in what I think it's 2, maybe 3 seasons in a row, we came down to ties in the division series against the White Sox and then the Tigers and had to play a game 163. And that was so exciting and so many people watched it that that's why they chose it as the wild card format, is because the Twins did it several times in a row and people loved it because it was one game, like super high stakes playoff baseball. And it's terrible for the playoffs and I hate it because it's not necessary.
Nope.
But the Twins won 2 of those games. Jim Thome hit a giant home run to send us home at a game that I think I was probably at the Metrodome.
Well, the thing is,
anyway,
with those one game playoffs, baseball is more of a long game. So the randomness of baseball comes into play so much with one game. I mean, I've in my recent baseball life, the Yankees have been in 3 of those wild card games, and they've won 2 of them. But that first one, which to be fair, that was against the Astros in 2015. I didn't think they were going to win that one. That was the season where they backed into the playoffs. They had the worst September. They barely made it. And I was like, this is not going to go well. And sure enough, Dallas Keuchel shut us the heck down. But just watching those, it is exciting, but it's not enjoyable, I would say. And it's not. For me was make it a 3-game series.
Yeah, as like baseball players intended, like the baseball gods intended. Like nothing should be decided by one game, except as a last resort, which is what those game 163 situations were. Was like over the course of the series, those teams proved to be roughly equal, and so like in that sense, it makes sense to have them play one more game against each other to tip those scales in some way. But to take players teams that should play a series together because they didn't finish evenly and make them play a one game playoff doesn't make any sense. That's rubbish.
My official current take on the playoffs is make the wild card game a wild card series, make it 3 games, all at the home of the higher seed.
I think that's a great idea.
Incentivizes being the number 1 wild card and 2 wild card, A. And B, yeah, I mean, a 3-game series still has randomness attached to it, but way less than a 1-game series.
Yeah.
Plus, then you have 3 games worth of home games for the higher seed to sell. Audience to watch. So I think that's what they should do, but we'll see.
Everybody's making money.
Everybody's making money except me. I'm losing it by going to but I'm into it. This is great.
I would watch it.
I would also watch it.
Totally.
I think that's all I have about the team and the roster. Is there anything else that we did not touch on that you want to say about the Twins players or team or dynamic or curses or anything else?
I think I am in a place where, to return to the beginning of this conversation, like one of the things that made me a Twins fan was the opportunity to get to know these players. And we've just talked about, there are a whole bunch of names on this current roster that I have no idea who they are. And what comes next as a baseball fan is doing the extra work to get to know these new guys. And you're kind of catching me in between generations on that. And so I think the next part of being a great baseball fan is that I get to know these new guys. And I just gestured at my TV, which is over there, is why I keep pointing over there. That's what I watch baseball on. It's over there. I'm very excited about that, about the opportunity to see what comes next and the rest of these series, even if it's more injury plagued rubbish, because that's okay. There's no stakes for me. I've been hurt by the Twins more than I could. They can't hurt me anymore. If it's bad baseball, I will just turn it off.
Oh dear. Good relationship you have there. But at least you are.
I shouldn't have done this on such a warm night, Kara.
Hey, no, I love this. You are realistic about what's going on, and frankly, it's a good attitude in sports because there's so many ways a team can break your heart, and if you're prepared for it, it makes it slightly more palatable.
When I was a younger man, when the Twins lost, my whole night was ruined. Yeah. I'd be out in grad school. I went to grad school at NYU, and I would go to the bar after an amazing day in class and watch the Twins lose in the play. Watch a foul ball land 6 feet outside and watch the umpire at Yankee Stadium call it fair in front of, I don't know if you remember that. I remember that clearly. And it would ruin my whole night.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're beyond that and we can just watch and love baseball.
I'm all about watching baseball, and I'm really excited to get to know young Garlic and others. And I think that's fun. It is really, when your team is going through a rough patch, that's the thing about baseball, is there really is always more to watch. I think it's hardest when you have expectations. Like, I mean, watching my team really, really struggle right now is hard because they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Whereas talking to my Tigers fan friend that I spoke to, he's watching, loving every minute of it because his team is supposed to suck. So it's okay if they're losing. What they're seeing is like Akil Badu become a household name, etc. And that's fun. But for me, it's and I guess you to some extent, you're like, our team is supposed to be doing better. But yet there's always joy to mine somewhere.
That's right.
In there.
That's right. I totally agree.
Love it. Well, then I'm going to change topics a little bit to talk about Target Field, which you've already referenced. My extensive research reveals that it was built in 2010, so it is
yes, indeed,
on the newer end of ballparks. You've already referenced one of the earlier iterations, which is the one you associate most with your teams. So I'm happy to talk about that, but also I'm curious. I think you have probably been to Target Field, if I'm guessing correctly.
Yes,
and
definitely.
What do you think of your ballpark?
It is a gorgeous ballpark. I've never sat in a bad seat. People are, there's a beautiful concourse. You can see the field from everywhere. There's delicious food. It's reasonably priced for ballparks. It's extremely expensive for Minnesota, but it's reasonably priced for ballparks. Everyone associated with the team, associated with the facility that I've ever worked with are nice and kind and giving, and everybody, even on like gross rainy days, I don't have enough nice things to say about going to see a game at Target Field. It is, you got to understand that outdoor baseball, I mean, for a long time in Minnesota, the St. Paul Saints were the only outdoor baseball. If you were in the Twin Cities, you wanted to see outdoor baseball, you went to a Saints game or a local high school game because the Twins played in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, which is a giant marshmallow. which I maintain was a phenomenal place to go and see a baseball game. If what you wanted to do was go and see a baseball game, if you wanted to go see anything else, these giant, like endless concrete concourses that with walls obscuring everything that was happening on the field. The those of us that grew up with the Metrodome loved the Metrodome. But there's not a single thing about going to see a game at Target Field that there's nothing about going to see a game at the Metrodome that is better than going to see a game at Target Field. The just to say as well, the Target Field is light rail accessible, so you don't even need to deal with parking downtown. You can park like near the bars on the edge of the Twin Cities and take the light rail in. This is an experience that is a little unfamiliar to Midwesterners. The ability to go to a baseball game, drink as much as you want, or like hang out downtown and safely get home again, if you live or are staying near the light rail. And so just that freedom and that ability to like go and enjoy everything about a day at the ballpark I absolutely love Target Field.
Wow, that's a glowing recommendation. That makes me very excited to go. Is there any? I mean, I've never been, but I will say, listening to the Yankees broadcasts, seems like everyone loves going to Minnesota for that very reason. The press loves the press boxes. Everyone seems to really enjoy their facilities in that park. As a fan, I don't know, the answer could be no, but is there anything particularly quirky, either architecturally or just kind of whimsically around, that you think is notable?
I mean, this is going to come from my not being as experienced with the building as if I could go every summer or lots of games over the course of a summer. I've always really enjoyed the fact that when a home run is hit, the giant light up Minnesota Twins sign with the two guys shaking hands across the Mississippi River, their hands go up and down, the lights turn on and off, and their hands go up and down when a home run is hit. And I think that's adorable. That's a thing that happens. It's a really small thing, and it's probably not something that other people might get excited about, but I really enjoyed the first time I noticed that. I was like, hey, the Twins, their hands are going up and down. I love that.
I love that too. I'll go to home run shtick in a ballpark. I mean, New Yorkers and the Mets, but the Mets, that home run apple, that thing is goofy AF. I love it.
Totally. 100%.
Big Apple just comes up and then goes down. Why?
Sure.
Who knows? Because it does.
It's something to look forward to. It's something else to like look for and be excited about, to celebrate that moment. Love it. Absolutely love it.
I touched on Midwestern manners, and I'm curious, battery throwing aside, how is it for opposing fans in Target Field? Like if I were to come to watch the Yankees play the Twins and I were in my Yankees gear, would I be ignored? Would I be heckled? Would I have batteries thrown at me?
I'm going to say that I have never seen any opposing fan of any stripe mistreated in any way at a Twins game.
Wow.
Because I mean, some of it is that passive aggressive Midwesternness. Like if you're being extremely loud and boisterous and in a one-sided game, then like and like a kid near you starts crying because you're like something like that, a parent might say something to you.
Yeah, I would
something
never do that also.
In the Moneyball season. Was that 2001? The season that the book and movie Moneyball took place. I think it was 2001. The A's were on a 20 game winning streak, and they came to Minnesota. And I was at game 21, and TC the Bear drove his little dune buggy around the outfield with a flag that said 21 with a circle and a line through it. And I was in college. I was very drunk. I stood up and yelled, "Yeah, no effing way, are they going to win 21?" And a parent with a young child was had seats in front of me, and they turned around and made eye contact with me. And I said, "I see, and I'll stop." And we had a wonderful baseball game together for the rest of the time. And Brad Radke won that game, and the Oakland A's did not get to 21 wins.
Because of you, probably.
Probably because of me, because I agreed to stop cursing in front of the little girl.
That's karma for you.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
That's
I've only ever seen Twins fans be at the very least like passive aggressively dismissive of opposing fans.
right.
There might be a touch more hostility because it's a Yankees fan, because you're a Yankees fan.
Used to that.
And depending on the context around the game. But like again, I've been to Yankees games, I've been to Yankees playoff games at the Metrodome. I don't think I've been to a playoff game at Target Field, but there has never been any like mistreatment or even like real rudeness from anyone that I've ever seen.
Love the Midwest for that, and that makes me very excited. Also, I should say I'm very polite as a fan.
Of course you are. Of course.
I don't think people would specifically get mad at me. Just there are some places where there's just you see the opposite jersey and you scream, and obviously
Sure, no, yeah.
Minnesota, not that place.
I've known Twins fans who like cheer for opposing teams who make really good plays. It's like
I also do that, so
there you go.
Really hard.
It's closer to that level of like, all right, that was great. You don't cheer for the unforced error.
No.
Like not all Twins fans are like that, but by and large, I think they're a pretty kind-hearted bunch.
It sounds like I get along great with them, so I'm now very excited to go and make friends with all the Twins fans.
Here, here.
The last question about the stadium, possibly the most important question about the stadium is, and I found the answers to this to run the gamut from no to very specific, but are there Minnesota or, Twin City area specific food and drink options that appear at the stadium?
Minnesotans are big on carnival food, stadium food. These are really exciting opportunities for Minnesotans. And I think it comes from the Minnesota State Fair, which is the second largest permanent fair in encampment in the country. The biggest is in Texas, but the second biggest is in Minnesota, and they're all about foods on sticks. And so anything that you can find on a stick, from the mainline pronto pup to breakfast on a stick, lasagna on a stick, tater tot hot dish on a stick. I can explain tater tot hot dish if I need to. It's definitely a thing.
What is that?
Tater tot hot dish is ground beef, steamed green beans, sometimes cheese, and then tater tots with cream of mushroom soup, and then baked. And so it's a casserole with it's all of these things. The tater tots on top get nice and crispy, the cheese gets molten, the soup and the beef and the vegetables all sort of meld together into one glorious flavor profile, gloriously Midwestern flavor profile. And at the Minnesota State Fair you can get it on a stick, which is essentially like tater tot with like probably ground beef inside it, with a cream of mushroom soup dipping sauce.
I was going to ask how something that seems quite liquidy ends up, but I guess that is a good answer.
Dipping sauces are a thing. So anything that you can find on a stick, you can find a lot of things on a stick to eat at Target Field, and I recommend most of them. There's a Harmon Killebrew branded root beer, which is delicious. Izzy's Ice Cream is a local ice cream place that is really good. Really good. They're St. Paul based and super good. There's a local bratwurst company that starts with a K and it's phenomenal, and I do not remember how to say their name. It's Kramarczuk. It's not Menkiewicz, but it's like Menkiewicz.
Need a song about it.
I know, right? They need to go back to the Schoolhouse Rock thing. Really good brats. Pizza Luce is a local pizza chain that has an outlet. I know there are some really good burger places. I just don't usually do burgers at the stadium, and so I've never tried any of them. There's a steak sandwich from a local steak sandwich place called Murray's that's very highly spoken of. There's a Tony Oliva branded Cuban sandwich that's also delicious. Like these are these Twins hometown heroes. This is get to know you again, like all over again. Get to know them, but it's like branded to root beer and Cuban sandwiches. There's a lot of really good food at Target Field.
Well, I'm officially very hungry right now, and also it sounds like the Twins are doing the thing that I wish all teams did, which is take your amazing local food and put it in the stadium. This is my biggest current annoyance, because talking to fans, some teams really do this and some teams really don't. The New York teams really mostly don't, and I find that ridiculous. Like, why? I've been thinking about this. Why is there not amazing New York pizza in the stadium?
Yeah.
What the heck? We're known for that. Where is it?
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot that can be done, and sounds like the Twins are doing it, which makes me even more excited to go and eat all the
Really,
food.
really good.
I have to go with a big group of people so we can get all the foods and then like split them and try them all, because it's a lot for me to eat by myself.
Totally. Yeah, it's a big group experience for sure. I love
Well,
it.
that's in the books. That is
Love
happening
it.
imminently. I can't wait. Okay, so the last thing we have to talk about, you've already mentioned him, and he's a mascot. And I have to talk about this every podcast, not podcast, this is a video, every YouTube video, because I love mascots and my team doesn't have one. So I like to live vicariously through everyone else's mascots. And as you mentioned, the Twins mascot is TC Bear. Yeah, TC obviously stands for Twin Cities. Even I figured that one out. And he is a bear. And I looked him up because I frankly was thinking about what is the Twins mascot, and I could not come up with a vision in my head. When you look at him, he is a brown bear, just like a classic brown bear, but he's got big blue eyes. He's got a permanent open mouth smile, which is fun. He's wearing a Twins jersey, a Twins hat, and of course those change out, different style jerseys, and sneakers, but no pants.
Yep,
so
no pants.
That's the bear, and that's all I know about him. What do you know about him?
TC the Bear is fantastic. I mean, I think the biggest other thing that I have to tell you about him is he has a great Twitter feed. He just keeps it really real and like shares important information. I should have pulled it up. I was looking at it earlier today. I should have pulled it up so that I could read some things to you off it. But like, he's a bear of few words. He tends to keep it short, pithy, but like right on point. He says what you're thinking. Associated with most things going on in the Twins heartland. And now I can't remember, they say it on every Twins broadcast, Twins territory. He's really good at keeping you posted on what's going on in Twins territory. So TC the Bear premiered in the year 2000. Again, this is around the same time that you've got a suddenly resurgent baseball team that people are interested in coming to see. This is also around the same time that they did a Willie Mays bobblehead giveaway that thousands of people lined up to get their hands on. And so all of a sudden the Twins front office is like, oh, there are more, like, we can do some things to make people interested in coming to see a baseball game. And TC the Bear was one of those things. I know for most of his career, he's been played by the same guy. They just parted ways with that guy. I didn't look too deeply into why. But like for most of the last 20 years, it's been the same dude inside that suit all the time, which is amazing. And my other favorite thing about TC Bear, besides the fact that he, rides a dune buggy and like occasionally like carries banners and stuff like that, he's a really nice bear. I've encountered him on a couple of occasions, like person to bear, and he's very approachable. He gives great hugs. He's a really nice bear. But the other thing that I found out about him is that he was inspired by a beer mascot.
Yes. Oh, I saw this. Yes.
So Ham's Beer was an early like financial sponsor of the Minnesota Twins when they were moving from Washington, D.C. We haven't talked about damn Yankees at all in this conversation, and I deeply appreciate how many of your videos are named after musical theater references. If you ever wondered if anyone out there got it, someone does.
Thank you.
So the Washington Senators in 1961 became the Minnesota Twins, and one of their big financial sponsors was Ham's Beer. And Ham's had, did you watch the commercial?
No.
Am I allowed to share my screen?
Sure.
No. Okay. So I'm going to preface this again by saying some of this may be slightly problematic in 2021.
Sure.
This is a 1979 Ham's Beer commercial featuring a very familiar looking bear.
From the land of sky blue waters, from the land of pine's lofty blossoms, comes the beer refreshing.
Pour an ice-cold Hams and treat yourself to the premium beer from the land of sky blue waters. Great tasting Hams.
Hams, the beer refreshing. Hams. refreshing hands.
Wow.
So I had not. The first time I saw that commercial, I was like, "Oh, it's so great! It's a little bear, and he's playing baseball." And then I watched it again with the sound on. Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. We have always, like, this is playing off of some of the same sort of Native American fetishism that you see with Land O'Lakes butter, which until very recently had a Native American princess figure on there. This is also a Minnesota company. And so this idea of Minnesotans being, there's a very large and active Native American population in Minnesota, and I didn't even, the first time I watched the commercial, I was like, huh, that sounds a little bit something. And it is definitely a little bit something. And so
That's it's a lot of, different era for sure.
For
but
sure.
I just want to say that bear struck out, but because he brought the ball in his mouth, he didn't spit it out far enough for a home run. That somehow counts as a home run. So I'm just saying, this bear does not have a great grasp of the rules of baseball, but I appreciate his boldness and his off the beaten track choices.
It's true. He's looking at baseball with a slightly different view than the rest of us. That I think shows, if we want to go back again to potential, there's a lot of room. Just because the rules of baseball don't say that you can do something, doesn't mean you can't find something amazing to do anyway.
It's true, and especially if you had a couple of those beers, you might especially think that
For
you can
sure.
do different things, and that is a testament to the power of this beer. I think is the point of the commercial.
I also discovered in my research today that the factory like the brewery that originally, it was the largest brewery in the state of Minnesota that made hams, and now it's home to both a small craft brewery and a small craft distillery. And I think like a gardening shop, all have now taken residence in different parts of that former hams brewery in St. Paul.
Cool. So do we think that the current TC Bear drinks beer?
I've never seen it. Boy, that's a great question. I was at FanFest one year trying to get an autograph from every active Twins player on a Twins flag. And every time we got an autograph from a player, we asked them to write their favorite beer underneath their name. And one of the players that we got autographed was Joe Mauer, who at the time was 20 years old. And his favorite beer was, I believe, sparkling water. And
that's too wholesome. Shut up, Joe Mauer.
I think we also got a signature from TC Bear, who probably, I would have to go back and check the flag because we still have it. I think his favorite drink was honey.
I was gonna guess honey. That's a classic. That's just so Winnie the Pooh riff.
That's right. That's right.
So similarly, a friendly bear who doesn't wear pants. So
there you go. Like the connection is clearly there with much less problematic origins.
Amazing. Okay, well that's great. I have a secondary goal. I've had a goal to get to all the ballparks, and I'm very behind, but it's gonna happen. But now I have a secondary goal, which is to also meet all the mascots. So I'll have to make sure I get there to batting practice and hang out with TC the Bear, and perhaps bring him some honey so that he comes over and says hi. I
think you will love TC the Bear.
I have no doubt.
He's a good bear.
I mean, I pretty much love all mascot animals, puppets, you name it, I love it. So the bar is not hard to clear for TC Bear, but he sounds especially delightful, so I am especially excited.
That's so good. I love it.
Yay! Okay, I know you have to do a lot of things tonight, so if you will indulge me, I have one final thing I would love to play.
Please.
Game is a made-up game. It is called the Matchup Game. And it is something I completely fabricated that has nothing to do with the match game at all, but kind of worked, so I used it. And here's how it works. I have got 4 baseball hats to my left, and one of them has the names of not all, but most of the Twins hitters. One has most of the pitchers of the Twins, and the other 2 have the same for the Yankees. And what I want to do is draw 5 hitter-batter matchups, and each of us can predict what outcome we think will happen with that at-bat. And the way this plays out in real time is over the however many 6 or 7 games our teams play, I will track this on my meticulous spreadsheet. And, if say, I don't know, Michael Pineda and Aaron Judge face each other 5 times, 5 different outcomes, or 5 of the same outcome. If one of us has guessed an outcome that happens once, we get 1 point. If it happens 5 times, we get 5 points, 0 points, etc. It's cumulative. At the end, the person with fewer points owes the person with more points a beer or other beverage or honey. I don't care.
Agreed.
At a baseball game, ideally, or somewhere else.
I agree to your terms.
Excellent. Well,
The bargain
then,
is struck.
the first move is yours. You can tell me, do you prefer to have, so there are 5 matchups, so do you prefer 3 of them to involve Twins pitching or 3 of them to involve Twins hitting?
I'm gonna have. I mean, based on the conversation we just had, I think 3 of them should involve Twins hitting.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good choice.
Yeah.
And that being the case, I'm going to start by drawing a Yankees pitcher. And that person is going to be, I'm sorry, it's Garrett Cole. I swear it's not rigged. That was behind my back. Okay, and the Garrett Cole is going to have to go to work against Miguel Sano. That's fun. That's a good matchup. What do you got?
Sano's got some pop in his bat. You know what? I'm gonna go with fly out. Do I have to choose a field? I do have to choose a field. All right, I'm gonna go with fly out to center.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Because most other times that Garrett Cole has come up and I let the other person choose first, they pick strikeout and they're usually right. This time I'm going to get to pick it. So I'm going strikeout, not because it's Sano, who is very good, but because Garrett Cole tends to strike out a lot of guys.
That's fair.
Yeah. Great. Okay, that's one. Next up, we've got a twin pitching, and that person on the mound is it's Matt Shoemaker. Oh no. God. Okay, well, let's see who he's facing. Could be anybody. And in fact, it is Gio Urshela, our third baseman. Righty-righty matchup.
I mean, you know what? I said it. I'm going to stick with it. Home run.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm going advantage Gio as well, but I'm going to go double to left.
Solid.
That's where I know it.
Solid. I love the gamblingness of this.
I know,
It's
right?
just like all the ultimate baseball percentages.
It's extremely random.
Totally.
But like, it's weirdly fun to kind of track it and see like, oh man, so close.
Absolutely. And even in roulette, your number comes up sometimes.
That is,
I think it's great. Yeah.
Someone will get a point. I will say the only season series completed so far is the Tigers series, and there was a total of 1 point awarded in that entire. I lost 1-0. It's great.
Still a very close match. Very close.
All right. Next up, Yankees have Aroldis Chapman pitching. Oh my God. I sounds like I rigged this. I swear, everybody, I'm not looking as I'm drawing. And Aroldis Chapman will have to face Nelson Cruz. There's a great matchup. Ooh, tough.
I mean, Nelson Cruz is good. Is there's something Nelson Cruz is good at? Let's just keep saying home runs.
Perfect. And I'm going to keep saying strikeout. I'm going to strike out.
This is great. This
All
is so
the
awesome.
true outcomes here. Someone say, well, okay.
Love it.
All right. Next one I'm up to. I need a Twins pitcher. And that Twins pitcher is going to be Alex Colomé.
Okay.
All right. And facing Luke Voigt. Well, actually, I'm deleting that because Luke is not playing this series, and that is not going to be fair.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Next, he's injured.
Try again.
Next up. Tyler Wade, utility infielder, lefty.
Making this hard for me to stay by my words.
I'm going to tell you, you should not go homer here.
I know. Let's go opposite field single.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna go infield single because Tyler Wade's main tool is speed, and
I love it. I love utility infielders. They are my favorites.
I have
That's so fun.
Tyler Wade. He's great. Yankees fans have a lot of hatred towards him. I think he's awesome. Keep being you, Tyler Wade. Speedy AF. All right.
You're here.
Full matchup.
You're here.
Last Yankee taking the mound tonight is nope. Corey Kluber's hurt. Not Corey Kluber. Sorry, Corey. Clearly, I did a good job winnowing this out before this. Okay. Nope. It is Jameson Taillon, who is, in fact, still pitching for us at the moment. Okay. And Jameson will have to face Josh Donaldson. Fun one.
Strikeout.
Really? I mean,
I think
Jimbo
so.
he's been looking sharper. All right. That's a good call. I think that I'm actually gonna I'm torn. All right. I'm gonna actually go with a double here. I'm gonna go with a double in the gap.
I mean, I think what we're seeing is my like my gun shyness about having just like faith in Twins hitters.
I get it. And this way, it's kind of like in fantasy when you play the fantasy guys on a team that's not your team. You're happy if your team wins, but they lose. At least you got fantasy points.
There you go. There you go.
It's a totally viable strategy, and I appreciate that you're taking that track.
I love it. I've been hurt so many times before.
Well, I hope some of these guys come through for you and do your outcomes, and then you will be owed a beverage by me, and that'll be fun.
And if not, then I would be delighted to buy you a beer instead.
The best part about this game is really everyone wins.
Here, here. Here, here.
All right, well, I will let you get on with your night, but thank you for taking this time. It was so cool to talk to you and get to know the Twins. I'm excited to watch this series and see how two underperforming teams match up.
So maybe someone will perform.
Gosh, I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be a really, really hard series to watch.
Yeah. No, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic because we get to watch baseball.
That's it, right? Especially after last year, it just feels like any day we get to watch baseball, we should be happy. It's a lucky day to watch an amazing sport.
Thank you very much for hanging out with me, Kara. This was awesome.
My pleasure. Anytime. Hey, well, we will do it again if our team's meeting the playoffs, maybe. here's And if not, we'll just go to the game when the Twins are in town, and it would be no pressure.
Would love it. Would love it.
Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you, and we'll talk again soon.
Have a great day, Kara. Cheers.